Welcome to Family Basics 101. I'm Dr. Bruce McClure, and we welcome you back to class today. We will continue studying early childhood development. On Monday, we looked at hope and willpower. On Tuesday, we looked at purpose and competence building in children. On Wednesday, today, we will talk about fidelity and love development. And we will talk more specifically about what each of those two components really factor into in the development of children. When we talk about fidelity, we're talking about the ability of a child to really be faithful. In one branch of our military, especially the U.S. Marines, they have a phrase, Semper Fi, and that simply means always faithful. So we have the Phi, which is faithfulness. On average, from about age 12 in the developmental process to young adulthood, it is considered to be the most critical transitional phase from being a child into being a young lady or a young man. Now, children are much more independent, or they should be, by this time. The adolescent's attention now turns toward focus on fidelity or faithfulness. And the irony is, by the time the child is 12 years old, their ideation of always pleasing the parent or the home environment, always faithful to home, begins to transition and move into more of a faithfulness or an identity connection with their world external from the home. It's going to focus more on faithfulness to education, permanency in relationships outside the home, best friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, thoughts about their own family. How many children do they want? Where do they want to live? It's also going to look at them moving out. So during this critical time of between age 12 and young adulthood, the child indeed is still focusing on pleasing and focusing on fidelity or faithfulness, but they're actually kind of moving into their own world of faithfulness and fidelity. And this sometimes causes very difficult transitions, not only for the child, but also for the primary caregiver. And the caregiver is going to experience some attachment disconnect struggles. The child is going to struggle with some attachment disconnect struggles. Because on one hand, the child is going to make every effort to move into their own world of faithfulness, and at the same time, the parent is trying to hold on to that child to be always faithful to them. Now, adolescents who have not developed trust will struggle with guilt or failure and mass insecurities of their own abilities to engage in a greater level of identity or what we call role confusion. So what happens is when the child is trying to move successfully into this world of faithfulness or their own personal identity discovery, if the prior developmental stages have not successfully been navigated to where the child has learned purpose and trust, the child is going to struggle with their own insecurities as they move into faithfulness. Now, the dominance of their conversations will look like this. Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know how to socialize. I don't know how to buy things for myself. I don't know how. Their whole world is going to center more around of what they don't know, because they don't want to take the real risk, or maybe they haven't really been taught properly how to really be faithful outside the home because inside the home it was filled with mistrust and almost a condescending put down about the child. Now, let's talk briefly about intimacy. There's a separation between faithfulness and intimacy. Although they sound alike, they are quite different in nature. Intimacy, or genuine love, presents itself more completely as the child moves into the young adult years away from the adolescent years. Intimacy means the ability to share oneself more at an emotional, sensing, feeling, walking in the other shoes level. So now watch what happens. If faithfulness has not been mastered, then it becomes difficult for that young adult to really practice true intimacy. Healthy intimacy that is more than just physical sexual attraction contributes to a more tranquil, more covenant relationship that is filled with security, safety, and genuine care. So the love relationship, or the intimate relationship, is more of an emotional level relationship, and it carries more than just you can depend on me. The absence of intimacy leads to emotional isolation. The rejection of intimacy is mostly triggered by a fear of fidelity. So a person that cannot connect intimately is going to first struggle with fidelity. Somebody has shattered the faithfulness. Isolation brings loneliness and depression, as well as over-demanding expectations to the few individuals they may interact with on a daily basis. In other words, we may call this smothering. The few people in the life of the individual that one attempts to be intimate with, and they have not learned to be faithful across a broader spectrum than just within the domain of the home, that individual will struggle with intimacy. Let me give you a Bible story. In the book of Luke, chapter 18, verses 18 through 26, there was a certain ruler that came to Jesus, and asked him, "What shall I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said unto him, "Why do you call me good?" He says, "Okay, don't commit adultery, keep the commandments, do not steal, do not kill." And he said, "Look, all of these things I have done all my life, honored my father." And then Jesus says, "I tell you what, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go sell your goods, give to the poor, and then come and follow me." Now watch what is happening. Jesus is moving him away from what he would call a faithful relationship that was really built on things. It was really built on what he does for people. But Jesus says it's going to take more than that in order for you to call it an intimate relationship. People can do things and not really learn intimacy. People can say, "I gave you this," and yet there's no intimacy involved in how they gave it. So this young man could not do what Jesus said, and he went away sorrowfully because Jesus was moving him into intimacy. Where there is a struggle with faithfulness, where there is a struggle with a clear understanding of what it means to have true purpose in life, there will be a struggle with intimacy. I'll see you back in class again tomorrow. Don't be late, and don't skip class.